With that, now turning to our program, please welcome Celia Benton, the Director of Economic Development for Milwaukee County, to introduce our speaker.
Hello, everybody. I have the pleasure of working in County Executive David Crowley's administration and the pleasure of introducing him today. First sworn into office in May of 2020, David Crowley became the youngest county executive in the history of Milwaukee County and the first Black leader elected to serve in the role. On April 2nd, 2024, he was reelected with 85% of the vote. The principles reflected in Rotary's four-way test are the same principles that guide the leadership of David Crowley. Since taking office, he has strengthened Milwaukee County through collaboration, transparency, and results-driven leadership. He understands that effective public service requires partnerships with municipalities, businesses, nonprofits, and civic organizations like Rotary. His administration has prioritized fiscal responsibility, economic growth, public health, and creating pathways to opportunity so that every resident has a real chance to thrive. And he has consistently emphasized that progress happens when we bring people to the table, listen with intention, and work towards solutions that benefit the entire community. On a personal note, I will add that he really does show up. I've been to countless business openings with him where he's used his platform to lift up small businesses around the county and genuinely celebrate in their success, including once a surprise engagement at a business opening. That approach reflects Rotary's deep commitment to ethical leadership and community impact. County Executive Crowley believes that the success of Milwaukee County depends on all of us working together to build trust, strengthen neighborhoods, and create a vibrant regional economy. Please join me in welcoming a leader dedicated to service, collaboration, and building a stronger future for Milwaukee County. Give it up for County Executive David Crowley.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for that kind introduction, Celia. And just for those who don't know, yes, I paid her to say all those great things. But I truly appreciate not only what she, but her entire team continues to bring to the table for Milwaukee County, particularly as it relates to our economic development efforts, because they are making a real difference for small businesses all across Milwaukee County. And I think everybody in this room would say it's important that we continue to not just help our entrepreneurs get started, but help them remain strong, especially throughout those first couple of years. First and foremost, I also want to say thank you to Mary McCormick and all of her leadership for the past 25 years. Melissa, you definitely have some big shoes to fill, but we're looking forward to seeing your leadership. And also just want to say thank you to all of you, the Rotary Club, for inviting me to be here today to address, not just to address you all, but to really discuss what is really working, particularly with Milwaukee County and how we are going to continue moving forward. And I recognize it's been almost a little over a year since I last seen you all, but during that time, a lot has happened throughout our community, throughout our states, and quite frankly, around our nation as a whole. And so as we continue to navigate not just the uncertain times, but unprecedented times that I would say, I believe that we all need to adapt to the changing tides and the different directions that they all will take us in. And so while we may not always agree with the direction that things are heading in, leadership is about steering the ship, despite the conditions. And so with that in mind, my administration is committed to responding to the evolving political environment that we find ourselves in, while also continuing to invest upstream and ensure that our services reach the working families who absolutely need them. And so today I'm going to share an update on several Milwaukee County initiatives, as well as introduce a new initiative aimed at reimagining how we operate now and in the future. And so today I'm also testing myself to see if I can walk and chew gum, because I'm also operating these slides at the same time. All right. So let's get into it. I don't want to start off with everybody's favorite topic, the budget. Now, as we move Milwaukee County forward, my administration, we are working to not only balance fiscal responsibility, but we're balancing that with service delivery as well as with the community needs. The 2026 budget that I signed into law last year really strives to accomplish just that. Our budget priorities are grounded in protecting our essential services, investing in critical infrastructure, and maintaining stability in the face of shifting financial realities. My budget allocates additional funds for our Milwaukee County transit system while we work to right-size this system and advocate for dedicated public transit revenue to ensure long-term sustainability. But it's also dedicated funding for more important initiatives, which also includes our Right to Counsel program that assists residents who are facing eviction or foreclosure. This budget also provides more funding for critical capital projects, including the public safety building project that I discussed with you all a couple of years ago in 2024, as well as improvements to our parks, updates to transportation infrastructure, and even more. But thanks to the largest property tax cut in Milwaukee County's history that we delivered in 2024, the county's property tax levy remains lower than what it was in 2023, limiting the financial burden on all of our Milwaukee County residents. And as a result of my administration's fiscal stewardship, Milwaukee County ended 2025 with a surplus. Yes, I said it. We ended 2025 with a surplus, which is encouraging news for our taxpayers and the services that so many of our residents rely on. And as a result, but we also know that there's more work for us to do. And like many local governments across Wisconsin, budget deficits are expected to return soon in the next year. And that's why my administration, we cannot afford to ignore fiscal responsibility. And so looking forward, I'm going to continue to work with our Milwaukee County Board of Supervisors to find not just common ground, but we're going to have to make some tough decisions moving forward to make sure that we're delivering the services people need, improving the quality of life for all of our residents, and making sure that we protect the future of Milwaukee County. And so I am extremely grateful for any partnership that produces investments within Milwaukee County, but again, we know that more is needed. And so like every other state and local unit of government throughout the nation, we are tracking the federal funding landscape right in DC, right in Washington, DC. And just a couple of weeks ago, I had the opportunity to visit the nation's capital for a conference that was hosted by the National Association of Counties, where this was a topic of interest among many governing leaders across the country, Republican, Democrat, Independent, or even if they don't care about politics, this is what we're talking about. And so during my visit, I had the opportunity to meet with a bipartisan group of Wisconsin lawmakers to not only highlight our priorities on public safety, but highlight all communities' priorities, right? Whether we're talking affordable housing, public transit, disaster assistance, and even more. And I have to tell you that I am encouraged. And I'm encouraged because the most recent congressional appropriations process really resulted in some modest increases in federal funding boosts for the county to support not just new bus purchases, but to help with the upgrades at the Kosciuszko Community Center. But like many others, I still remain concerned that this federal budget, particularly when it comes down to both the proposed budget and those that have passed, how that will significantly impact our ability to provide services, not just for individuals, but families right here within Milwaukee County and across the state of Wisconsin. And these are programs and services that are offered by many communities. We're talking about programs like behavioral health services, housing programs, public transit, and any health services that accept Medicaid. And I want you all to know that I'm going to do everything that I can to make sure that we ensure that local taxpayers don't have to pay the price of decisions that are coming out of Washington, D.C. And I'm going to continue to build strong partnerships here locally, at the state level, and at the federal level so we can continue to deliver for our residents and families across the region. And so speaking of public transit, the 2026 budget dedicates new resources to help enhance safety as well as target fare evasion within our MCTS buses as we begin to work towards a long-term sustainability plan for our public transit system. Now, the MCTS service plan addresses budget challenges through targeted reductions in service frequency on select routes during non-peak hours. And these adjustments will really allow our Milwaukee County transit system to continue to serve every resident, every neighborhood currently that are receiving services, while also making sure that we responsibly manage the ongoing and anticipated financial challenges that we're seeing in 2027. MCTS is also pursuing new security measures to keep riders, to keep our operators safe on those buses. We have a new apprenticeship program, a new initiative with the state of Wisconsin that's going to help train and give more opportunities for our local residents. We're going to also strengthen partnerships with our community organizations in furthering the agency's reach as well as the impact across Milwaukee County. But the hard truth is this: we are continuously staring down another structural deficit for our Milwaukee County transit system next year. And this will impact how we provide the public transit services throughout our entire community. And so under the leadership of our Department of Transportation's recently confirmed director, Joe Lamers, as well as our Milwaukee County Transit System President, Steve Fuentes, MCTS is pursuing a right sizing of the system to ensure that it's fiscally responsible and sustainable, that it meets the needs of all of our residents and can stay solvent for many years to come. But at the same time, we have to keep working together. We have to continue to advocate for dedicated transit funding from our state and federal partners. When we compare Milwaukee County to our peer communities across the entire country, we are the only one that doesn't have a dedicated funding source for our public transit system. Now, the same can go for affordable housing and homeless prevention. We simply need more resources, more funding to combat the rising cost of housing in Wisconsin. And I know you've all heard previously from our Housing Division Director, Jim Matthey, about our work in this particular space. Because since we've implemented the Housing First model, we've reduced overall homelessness. That population has been reduced by more than 46% in just 5 years. And it has helped to save Milwaukee County taxpayers over $30 million in the past 5 years. And since I've been elected, we've committed nearly $50 million towards affordable housing efforts, because we all know that safe, quality, stable home is good for everyone. It is the foundation that our children need. It is hard to focus on where you're going to go to work, where you're going to go to school, how you're going to take care of yourself when you don't have a stable place to call home. And then we have a couple of examples of this particular work in action. We're currently wrapping up the development of 100 brand new homes for first-time home buyers in the King Park neighborhood with Habitat for Humanity and the MM Group. We're developing the county's first ever affordable subdivision for home ownership in the city of Oak Creek. And we're financially supporting the redevelopment of the former site, Bucyrus Erie, in South Milwaukee, that will soon include more affordable housing options for families, veterans, and a new senior center. But we know that our work is far from over. But these innovative public-private partnerships are how we're going to continue to battle the root causes of housing instability and unaffordability. Now, we know that small businesses are also the backbone of Milwaukee County's local economy, the backbone of any local community's economy. They create significant portions of local jobs, they add value to our tax base, and they help to foster a deeper identity as an innovative, forward-thinking community. And that's why last year I called on my administration, and I will tell you, Cecilia Benton, she answered the call, and we built our Building Bridges Milwaukee County Economic Development Program. And we're building bridges between small businesses, entrepreneurs, the business support programs, municipalities, and helping to fill commercial corridor spaces all throughout Milwaukee County. We partnered with the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation to create this Building Bridges program. And what this initiative does is that it helps to fund local organizations, local businesses, to the tune of about $10,000 in grant funding. And we have given $10,000 grants to 20 different small businesses across Milwaukee County for facility improvements that enhance commercial corridor activation efforts. It also provides ongoing technical support through a small business liaison with the goal of helping entrepreneurs establish brick and mortar businesses and expand them all across Milwaukee County as well. And as Celia pointed out, I've had the opportunity to visit many of these small businesses who have received these grants, and I'm proud to see that this program is absolutely working. I recently visited a small business called the Amani Place. And this is an event venue in the Merrill Park neighborhood that has transformed a vacant building into a new inviting gathering space for the community to enjoy. But without the Building Bridges program, this business may not have had the resources that it needed to open their doors, to create the jobs that contribute to our local economy. And I'm proud that this initiative is continuing to make an impact every single day. And so I want to again say thank you to Celia and her entire team for helping this program become a success. But it is my hope that the Building Bridges program will continue to become a model statewide so we can continue to activate storefronts all across Wisconsin, helping not only to create jobs, but uplift small businesses all throughout the state of Wisconsin. And overall, there's a lot happening within Milwaukee County, and much of it is making a difference in every community, all 19 municipalities in Milwaukee County. In times of need, such as the aftermath of the historic flooding last year, we stepped up with efficiency, stepped up with coordination and compassion to support all of our neighbors. My administration remains dedicated to deploying opioid settlement dollars for treatment, for recovery, and harm reduction efforts that are helping to reduce fatal overdoses all across Milwaukee County. Our Office of Emergency Management, their innovative EMS initiatives are literally saving lives in the field every single day. We've strengthened our emergency responses, our operations, we've advanced Vision Zero to tackle reckless driving, and we're investing in climate resilience as well as sustainability. We're also, like many of the developments that we are highlighting, we're also reaching completion, Many of the development projects that we're investing in are reaching completion, including our new Marsha Peacock's Health and Human Service Center that just opened up last year in the King Park neighborhood, as well as the Forensic Science and Protective Medicine facility in Wauwatosa that is slated to open up later this year. But now we're pursuing new initiatives that focus on the future of the county government, the future of what county government looks like moving forward. So the Milwaukee County Future State Project is a comprehensive effort to reimagine how Milwaukee County serves everyone who lives, works, and plays in Milwaukee County. And the key question behind Future State Project is, do our current systems, do our policies and programs truly support the future that we want to create right here within Milwaukee County? We cannot change health outcomes in our community by doing things the way that we've always done them. Many of our programs, services, and policies were not designed to serve our diverse, changing community needs. And so the Future State Project really focuses on how we operate today, exploring ways to eliminate disparities and move closer to our shared vision. And as part of this initiative, our strategy team worked with subject matter experts and consultants from Barry Dunn and Cairo Communications on drafting recommendations aimed at strengthening the county's services, our policies, our practices, as well as our organizational structure. The draft recommendations are just that. They are recommendations. They're our starting point for a conversation about what is possible. And the draft recommendations were informed by over 1,000 county staff, department leaders, community members, and organizations to ensure the report reflects the real work and impact of Milwaukee County. They are rooted in the county's vision and cover many topics like community engagement, like county operations, county parks, as well as our zoo, housing, legal services, public health, social services, and even more. And a couple of these draft recommendations are listed on the screen, and these all include expanding our no wrong door model of care across all service delivery functions within Milwaukee County government, identifying dedicated funding for public transit and for early childhood development efforts, bridging the gap between aging services, veteran affairs, and affordable housing efforts, improving the maintenance of our operations at our parks, and streamlining emergency operations and 911 dispatch services to not only save time, but to save taxpayer dollars as well. Now, there are more draft recommendations to consider, which is why we want to hear directly from you. We want to hear your feedback. The strongest communities are those that are guided by the lived experiences, the needs, and the priorities of the people who call this place home. And our pathway forward must reflect that. So please, give us your recommendations. And you can do it by scanning this QR code. Your feedback will help to shape our final future state report that will be shared with the Milwaukee County Board of Supervisors by this summer. And there are 4 ways to get involved in the future state project right now. 1, you can read the draft recommendations. They are all available on our website. You can scan that QR code to visit the website, county.milwaukee.gov/future state project. You can register to attend the many community listening sessions that we'll be hosting. The Future State Project team will be hosting public listening sessions across the county, sharing a brief presentation on the draft recommendations and soliciting attendees' thoughts and feedbacks. And we'll have those dates, locations, and registration links for the listening sessions. They can be found on our website, but again, you can reach out to my office just to get those dates as well. You can also share that feedback on the recommendations through an online survey as well. The survey is available online and will be open through Friday, April 3rd. So please drive as many people to that website as possible. And then finally, help us spread the word. There are materials at your tables for you to take with you, for you to share with your network, share with those that are interested. You again can scan that QR code that is on the screen to learn even more, because we all have a role to play. We all have a very unique perspective to contribute. And so as we chart this course together towards a healthier community for our entire community, we want to hear directly from you. And so in closing, I just want to reaffirm my commitment to not just working with, but on your behalf to make sure that we are moving Milwaukee County forward every single day. And so I'm ready to continue to build bridges. I'm ready to continue to foster and strengthen the partnerships that we need to deliver the results that our community deserves. Because I know by working together, we will not only find common ground on how we deliver these services, but we can enhance the quality of life. We can make sure that when the tide rises, all the boats rise for every resident throughout Milwaukee County. And so I want to say thank you for being here. I know that was a little wonky, but truly appreciate this opportunity to tell you about the direction that we're going in as Milwaukee County, and we'll take any questions you all may have. Thank you.
All right, everybody, thanks so much for being here today. If you have any questions, please line up here. Your questions must be 30 seconds or less. I am the moderator, but also the gatekeeper. I will take the mic. Yes, does anybody have a question? Pat, come on up. And please introduce yourself. And County Executive Crowley, thank you so much for speaking today.
Thanks for being here. My name is Pat Cronin. And you may not know, but our friend Carol here is in the business of granting wishes. So of all the challenges, all the problems, all the opportunities you face as county executive, if you were given one wish, what would it be for?
Good one, Pat. I'll see what I can do.
You know, when you ask a politician to look into a crystal ball, that's never the right. But if it was one wish, I would like for there to be a balance on how we fund local units of government across the state of Wisconsin. The biggest issue that we're seeing facing not just Milwaukee County is facing every city, every town, every village, every county across the state of Wisconsin. It may look different here because we have more zeros when it comes down to our budget. We have more people related to our population here within the state of Wisconsin, within Milwaukee County. And so I would love to strengthen the relationship when it comes down to how much access we have to shared revenue to make sure that we are funding the work that people rely on every single day, making sure that we're funding public safety, making sure that we can fund our transit system, our parks, because 66% of our local tax levy is going towards state mandated services. And until we can see an increase in especially many of the stagnant funding pots that we go after every single year is going to be extremely difficult for us to fill the gaps that we see coming in the future because of the federal government and possibly the state government.
Thank you for your forward-looking speech. It's a pleasure to have a county executive think like you. Thinking about the county services, you mentioned but did not put up on your slides public health. And if you do an AI search on public health, it comes back in Milwaukee County, its municipalities are highly fragmented in delivery of service. Can you give us an update on what you're doing to provide a more efficient and effective system in public health?
Great question. So, fun fact, Milwaukee County is the only county in the state of Wisconsin that doesn't have a countywide health department. And we learned that actually during the pandemic. We have about 11 different public health departments all throughout Milwaukee County. It is very difficult to get everybody on the same page. But we do have a great partnership with the Medical College of Wisconsin. We have our Chief Health Policy Advisor, Dr. Ben Weston, who helps us to guide the conversations that we have to have with not just the 4 major hospital systems that we have, but also working with our fairly qualified health systems, working with our clinics, our FQHCs, our clinics all across Milwaukee County, as well as working with those public health departments as well. But it's going to take a concerted effort for us to continue to come to the table and figure out how do we make sure that we fund this. The state of Wisconsin is probably ranks about 48th out of all the states in the entire country when it comes down to public health funding. And so we need to actually have, this is one of the conversations that we have to have with strengthening the relationship with the state of Wisconsin and making sure that we can fully fund public health, not just in our largest county, but in all communities across Wisconsin.
Thank you for your presentation, Art Cerna here. So this question is about public education and artificial intelligence and preparing youth. So there was a recent research that was done, 1,500 kids, ages 13 to 24. And what they found is only 30% really believe that AI will be helpful to them in their future, and only 30% are early adopters of the technology. From your perspective, what can Milwaukee County do to adequately prepare young people for the future they're going to inherit? Specifically, skill around artificial intelligence. Thank you.
Thank you for that question. I think this is a workforce development conversation. We need to make sure that all of our school systems are preparing our children, not just for the jobs of the future, but the jobs that are here today. And especially with the conversations of AI and data centers coming online here within the state of Wisconsin, it's important, one, that we're setting, if this is going to happen, that we're setting ourselves up with success. And I think if we could do that through community benefit agreements and making sure that all of our children, all of their school systems have access to the technology that they need. Now, I know there's conversations about AI is going to take the jobs. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think those who know how to use AI are going to take the jobs, right? And so we have to make sure that we are setting our young people up for success, but we're not allowing technology to take away from the innovation and the creativity that they have at the exact same time. And so we have to have a delicate balance when it comes down to technology, making sure we're not stifling the education of our young people as well. And I know many people in this room can understand that because I know life before social media. I know life before Facebook and the internet. And so, you know, I remember my mother telling me, I remember going into the library and have to do all these things. And so we have to make sure that we are not, this doesn't become an issue to where our kids start to fall through the gaps that can be created because of AI and data and because of technology, but we have to create that delicate balance.
Hello, thank you for coming. My name is Milton Bond. My question for you is, how are the skill sets that you learn as county executive can transfer to being possibly the governor of the state?
He just went there.
Nice job. Yeah, that was good.
Thank you for that. Well, just to give quick background about me, I have a different foundation than most elected officials. I didn't just run for office. You know, I started off as a community organizer, and organizing led me to being a staffer. And being a staffer for the Milwaukee County Board of Supervisors and then going to the state level helped me get a few laps around the track before I actually entered the race of politics. But when you, as county executive, right, I represent the largest county in the state of Wisconsin. There's close to 1 million people here, 19 different municipalities. And one of the first things that I did is I remember when I was sworn in, May 4th, during the pandemic, I did a tour of every community in our county. And I thought that was normal, and I realized that it was not normal. And I think that we recognize that all of the municipalities that we have here, they're not all the same, right? They have their own unique perspectives and challenges. But as I travel, right, I think while life may look different, the challenges, the barriers are all the same right now. And so what I would say is that being a county executive helps me to understand that there isn't a one-size-fits-all solution when it comes down to the county. And there's absolutely not one when it comes to the state of Wisconsin. And so it's about how do we right-size these solutions to actually fit different communities throughout Milwaukee County and throughout the state of Wisconsin. And I think one great example of that is what we have done around affordable housing. I mean, 6 of the projects that we're talking about around affordable housing are all happening in suburban communities that didn't see these levels of projects happening prior to my administration. And that's because we actually brought communities to the table and we wanted to address a specific need. And not saying that we got rid of the stigma or the perception of affordable housing, but we made baby steps of allowing and now challenging some of the perceptions, which is giving us more of an opportunity to work hand in hand. And so my job is to be the county executive of everybody, of every community, not just those who represent me. And I think that needs to translate to the state of Wisconsin right now, because I don't care how far left or right you are, government just isn't working. And right now we need to bring people to the table to figure out how everybody can benefit. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Levi Stein with the Friendship Circle. Thank you for being here. My question is, you have an insanely difficult job on so many levels. How do you take care of yourself and keep your mental health in a healthy place?
As many of you know, you ask me how I'm doing, I will respond, every day is a good day. A lot of that is because, one, every day is a really good day. But it is my wife and kids that fill me up every single day when I go back home. But I also know that the work that I do is about ending the cycle that I seen myself growing up in as a kid, right? Rather, my dad is a former master electrician, retired, doing great right now. My mother was a Jane of all trades, but they suffered from mental health. They suffered from drug addiction. They suffered from housing instability. I mean, being evicted 3 times before you graduated high school and moving every single year for 15 years can have a toll on you. But that's also the foundation, and it helps guide the work that I am doing. And so knowing the type of impact that we have the ability to make is how I take care of myself. I don't know what it's like to take a vacation, because I've never had a vacation, really. But the work, to be honest with you, is what helps. The work in my family is what helps fuse my fire. And I will honestly say, after having 3 full-time jobs right now, running for office, being county executive, and still being a husband and father, I'm absolutely going to make sure that every year we take a solid vacation for my own mental health.
Thank you, County Executive, for being here. I'm Ryan Daniels with the Milwaukee Public Library Foundation. My question is, since so much of our funding comes from the state, we're about to have a change after a long time in our speaker. Could you give us, is this going to be good for Milwaukee? Is this going to be neutral for Milwaukee? Is this, if you could just give us your read, it would be appreciated.
Well, I would say that, I've dealt with Republican-controlled legislatures for a long time, since being in the Assembly, being county executive, and we have been able to be successful. And I know that there's a lot of competing priorities at the state level. But one of the things that I want to focus on to make sure that we're bringing resources back to places like Milwaukee, but quite frankly across the state, is we have to take a hard look at how we actually spend and bring in revenue at the state level. And so I am a proponent of creating a blue ribbon commission to look at how we spend and how we bring in money at the state level. The last time we took a high-level overview at the state level about our taxes was before I was born, right? It was Tommy Thompson in 1984 who decided to do a blue ribbon commission on how we actually look at our revenues and how we spend money. And I think this is an opportunity for us to bring in business owners, bring in elected officials, bring in academics, bring in labor, and have a conversation and see what's happening in other communities to figure out how we strengthen local municipalities. Because our state is only as strong as our local municipalities are. And so I do think that this is an opportunity for us to continue to strengthen Milwaukee County. And, I'll be the first to say that it's great being the economic engine of the state, but it's hard to feel like you're not beating on your chest, right, when you're saying that in other communities. And so I realize that we do this in partnership. And so we have to continue to create strengthen partnerships, work with other local municipalities and other communities to make sure that when the tide rises, all the boats rise, and that includes Milwaukee. But we know that we can be the political lightning rod. It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or a Republican, wherever you are in the state, people will always rail on us. And I think that we have to get comfortable being uncomfortable, stepping outside our geographical comfort zone and building relationships, showing what we actually contribute to the state of Wisconsin.
Hey, good afternoon. Dan Jenkins, Milwaukee Rotary. I'm a retired physician from Medical College in Frederick. And so I was talking to Colleen Foley, Executive Director, Legal Aid Society the other day. And we were talking about like the 19 neighborhoods or whatever. So health disparity, trying to find a home, trying to pay rent, but we're not going to talk about that. So even more of a crisis in question, food deserts. Aldi, Century, Pick and Save. Yeah. So how is the county looking at that right now? I'm not looking for an answer, but just how they thinking about it.
We are thinking about it. I think during the snafu, this brought a lot of attention to what was happening, right? And one of the things our county board of supervisors did is that we actually dipped into the contingency to actually help out more pantries across Milwaukee County to make sure that we could continue to have those food stocked there. And seeing with many of the companies now, right, they're leaving. And so this is an opportunity for us to step up and really organize. And so I'm having conversations with, for example, farmers across Wisconsin to figure out what kind of partnerships that we can create. But I would also say that this is not just a Milwaukee problem. This is a statewide problem that we have, and this is a problem that we're starting to see all across the entire country. And so we're going to need the federal government and our state governments to really step up, because if you're in the food industry, we know that these margins, profit margins, are not quite that high, right? And so we need to make sure that we're figuring out ways to reduce the amount of money that they're losing related to their good food, that we can have produce, that we can have fresh produce in certain communities. But I would also say it's going to take partnership with the city as well, right? Because we know that there are opportunities for us to work with many of our local stores, our community stores, to figure out how they can actually put fresh produce, fresh groceries in their stores. I don't believe any kid should have to walk by all the Cheetos, walk by all the sodas, walk by all these things before they can actually see a banana, before they can see an orange. And so this is going to take an organizing effort. I don't have all the answers today, but it's going to take all of us coming to the table to really tackle that issue.
Hi, County Executive Crowley. My name is Megan Holbrook. Nice to see you again.
Good to see you.
I'm interested in how you think that private equity has impacted housing in the area. I know it's a large issue across the country. Potential home buyers are competing with large private equity funds. How would you handle that situation?
Yeah, I would, first and foremost, it's not too often where I would go on the record and say, this is one of the things I absolutely agree with President Trump on. Private equity firms should not be buying up our single-family houses. It's pricing too many people out. And quite frankly, this was a topic that Democrats have talked about for a very long time. But unfortunately, we've been responding to everything versus being proactive as far as what the agenda and the vision that we need to put out on the table. And so I absolutely agree that private equity firms should not be in the business of buying single-family homes anywhere in the state of Wisconsin because it's pricing too many people out. And I do think this is an opportunity for us to focus on how do we bring not just affordable housing, but attainable housing, right? I mean, how many students right now who are from a farm, probably live in a Marinette County, yet they want to move back, but can't because the housing options aren't there. And I know that as I travel, there are rural communities that has resentment towards places like Milwaukee because they think that we're the ones buying up those homes. Now, I tell them that it's not. It's Chicago. I blame Chicago for everything. But it's important to understand that this has helped help contribute to the resentment that folks have. And so we need to get back to the basics of giving people the opportunity to buy their first home, especially at an early age, because now the average age of buying your first home has risen to the age of 40, which is mind-blowing. Thank you.
Hello, thank you so much for speaking with us today. My name is Elizabeth Draper. My question is, given that Milwaukee County is unique within the state of Wisconsin, do you have close relationships with other county executives at cities across the country? And could you say perhaps who those relationships are with and what you see them do that you think could benefit our county?
Absolutely. So I am the former chair of the Large Urban Counties Caucus, which consists of basically counties that have about a minimum of 500,000 population or more. So I chaired that for 2 years, and then we have a county executives roundtable. I'm a part of the County Executives of America. And to be honest with you, all the county executives is looking at Milwaukee. They're looking at us and asking how we are doing the work we have done. We have the lowest unsheltered homeless population per capita than any community our size across the entire country. And so we're doing what's right around housing and housing first. So they're asking us what we can do. When we look at what we have done with our mental health crisis response and how we've revamped that and built the mental health emergency center with a very, very unique partnership, probably the first of its kind partnership that we have related to the cost sharing agreement that we have with the 4 large healthcare systems. They're asking us how do we get that done. But I would tell you that all of us consistently come together at least once a year while we are in Washington, D.C. to actually band together and really focus on issues that are nonpartisan. And so, yes, I have worked with the Orange County Mayor, Jerry Demings. We have worked with the Erie County County Executive and Mark Pollinkart. We have worked with the Albany County Executive and Dan McCoy. I've worked with Lena Hidalgo, who is the Harris County Executive in Houston, or the former County Executive, Dow Constantine of King County, which is Seattle, or working with, my largest suburb, Cook County. With President Perkwinkle. She hates that joke, by the way. But I have the opportunity to work with many county executives, and we are always coming together to share best practices. But I will tell you, many of them look at Milwaukee County as a leader because we're bridging the gap. We're putting our money where our mouth is by actually investing in equity and the initiatives that we believe in.
Great, thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you. Is this for me?